Hi, Ryan. Thank you for being here and chatting with me today.
Thanks, Theresa. Thanks for having me.
So let's dive in and talk about the gray market. To start, tell me what's meant when we refer to a gray market source.
So I guess the gray market in general, I guess the first thing we should mention is Rockwell Automation, as do many companies, we sell our products through a limited distribution model. And so we have authorized distributors around the world, and these are the authorized sources. And anybody who tries to get a hold of our products and sells them, without authorization would be considered an unauthorized reseller. And the market that, there's the collection of these, the sales of these unauthorized resellers, that is what's considered a gray market. So it's also, they're also referred to as a gray market source, unauthorized reseller. There are other flavors of the, names used for these types of companies around the world. Another example would be a parallel importer. But the key thing is that these companies are traffic in goods, branded goods without the authorization of the trademark owner or the manufacturer.
So what's the difference between those sources and an authorized distributor? I mean, how do they get their hands on products that aren't authorized?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a very complicated world out there. So sometimes what happens is products that are not needed. For example, if a company who has purchased products decides that they don't need them anymore, they may try to sell them to obtain some of their costs back, and those could then be sold to a company that's a reseller of some type, and then those companies would then try to sell it on to somebody who's looking for products, and those sales would be considered unauthorized. We also see products enter the gray market, through more sinister means, through deception. There are companies out there who try to trick or induce our authorized distributors into selling to them by pretending to be different types of companies, not just resell companies or companies that would legitimately use our products. And then we see things that are even more serious than that. We see products enter the gray market as a result of theft or embezzlement from legitimate customers of our products, and then we have this counterfeiting phenomenon as well. So there's product out there that's being sold by unauthorized sources that isn't even authentic Rockwell Automation product. So it's kind of a whole bunch of different types of reasons why products may enter the market, but it's all not good for our customers and for us as a company.
So counterfeit products, how can buyers spot those? Because do they look like they're a verified Rockwell Allen Bradley product?
Yeah, so this is another really great question, and it's one of the big reasons, which I think we'll chat about later, is what our calls to action are as a manufacturer. But the truthful answer is sometimes it is very difficult, even for our own experts, to tell whether or not a product is a counterfeit or not. And sometimes it's very easy. So we see things all the way from the spectrum of labels with terrible misspellings, even the word Rockwell spelled incorrectly. Things that are just blatantly very poor quality manufacturer that are definitely not from our manufacturing facilities. And we see things that are much more comparable, that would require analysis and tear down in our labs to discern authentic from not, and everything in between. And we also see different forms of counterfeiting. So the definition of counterfeiting that we work with, and which is generally adopted but may not be a general consumer's idea of counterfeit, is our definition is any Rockwell branded product that contains any non-factory original element that gets advertised as new. So another kind of counterfeiting phenomenon that we see out there is somebody taking something that's old or maybe used or broken, and then repairing it up, fixing it up, cleaning it up, and then they'll put counterfeit packaging around it. to make it look like it's a brand new item again, factory sealed again, with a counterfeit factory seal. And that's because they can take something that might be somebody's junk or something that doesn't work, and they can misrepresent it as a totally new, quote unquote authentic, factory sealed product. And we see a lot of that activity out there as well. So it's a real spectrum of activity, and it's very difficult for consumers to tell if whether or not something is counterfeit, which is why it's so important for people to think about where they're buying things from and making sure that that's a trusted source.
So does that mean if an industrial firm wants to buy from a gray market source instead of an authorized distributor, they need to be aware of their dealing with the gray market, or do they already know that?
I think it's there's situations that we see where the customers know it's an unauthorized source, and they may even know what the risks are, and depending on the pressures and desperation that they're dealing with, they may take them. But on the other side of that, we see a lot of customers who may not know that they're, number one, dealing with an unauthorized source, and if they are aware of that, they may not understand the risks, which is why we're taking a lot of time to try our best to educate customers on this topic and the risks that are associated with this. I will also say that there are a lot of deceptive practices out there. So we do deal with companies who falsely claim to be authorized sources. Companies that even fraudulently use our logos, use our partner emblems to try to claim that they have the same status as a true authorized distributor of our products. We even have companies out there who adopt company names that try to look like ours, adopt logos that even try to look like ours, again to sow confusion and to kind of dupe people into believing that they're authorized. And so we see all sorts of different situations.
Wow, that would be confusing for a buyer when they think they're going the authorized path. For those who aren't, who are purposely trying to get a better deal, so to speak, is it unethical? Is it considered unethical to go to the gray market?
I think that's a really deep question. I obviously think my personal standpoint here is that if you understand the risks associated with doing this, and believe me when I say that I see these risks being realized on a day-to-day basis in my work, I think it would be very difficult for somebody to justify the risks if they are truly trying to act on the best interests of a company. But whether or not it's illegal for example, for a company to purchase from an unauthorized source, that's a totally different issue, and I would say generally not. Our position as a company is that the people who engage in the unauthorized resale activity, they are the ones who are generally acting in a way that is beyond unethical, into the unlawful realm.
That makes sense. So we're talking about the risk. What are some of the risks of buying some of these gray market products?
Yeah, well, there's some really easy ones to talk about, which are not necessarily obvious to many people, and it's also something that people don't always think about. So from I guess just from the way that we provide value with our products, a truly new Rockwell Automation product that's purchased from an authorized source, so either from us or from one of our authorized distributors, comes with some benefits that you can't get anywhere else, which are pretty essential. So I'll talk about that first. The first is a factory warranty, so a warranty on the products that's backed up by Rockwell Automation. That's something that's so critical in our industry. We are the only company in the world that has the expertise to support our products at the level that we're able to, because we are the manufacturer and designer of these products. And there's no third party who can offer a warranty that's comparable to that. And so again, you only get that benefit if you're purchasing from an authorized source. The other thing that's pretty important is many of our products, especially our high-tech products, require firmware or software to even operate. So, just for your information, some of our products don't even ship with the firmware on them. So when you receive them, you have to go to our website and download the firmware and then install it. But our end user license agreement restricts, access to these, downloads to customers who've purchased from an authorized source only. And so, you'd actually have to kind of be, breaking the license agreement, to be accessing these items if you didn't purchase from an authorized source. Beyond that, there's all sorts of other things that our authorized distributors and Rockwell Automation, offer, which is, professionally trained staff, staff that have been trained by Rockwell Automation, to support products, local inventory. There's a litany of other benefits there. But the thing I really want to talk about, particularly in today's world, is there's a risk out there that you will receive a product that will probably have, reliability, safety, or even security risks, because these products are, flowing through unknown, untrusted hands. There's all sorts of, things that could go wrong. As I mentioned earlier, we see a lot of counterfeiting activity out there, and these products are trafficked in these, unauthorized marketplaces by unauthorized resellers. And, because these products are, not in trusted hands, there's all sorts of things that, could happen there. If you consider, for example, the risks of somebody, selling something that was either broken or inadequately repaired, and that product then caused some type of factory downtime, or broke in such a way that was not safe, and could cause harm to persons or property. That's a pretty serious risk to be taking, to be acquiring products in that way. You could consider the security risks of somebody, taking advantage of these kind of unauthorized channels to modify devices in some way that makes them vulnerable to security attacks, or something like that. That's another risk for companies to consider as well.
Well, so when buyers run into these problems after they've purchased such products, what are some of the hard lessons you've seen them learn? For example, they thought they were saving money when they purchased this product, and it ends up they've had so many problems, they've lost those savings and spent more money. What are some of the other lessons they learn?
Yeah. So, without going into, actual, quantification of loss and that sort of thing, generally what happens is we see companies, either knowingly or unknowingly engaging in this kind of, purchasing from unauthorized source behavior. Or, by the way, sometimes customers, and this is why this type of awareness is so important, sometimes customers unknowingly acquire products, that have come from unauthorized sources, through maybe a legitimate partner of theirs. For example, a company that's building machines for them. Maybe it's not the end customer who's actually made the purchasing decision about where the industrial equipment is coming from, but somebody upstream. But nonetheless, what happens is there's generally a lot of, first of all, concern when there's an understanding that something has gone wrong, and we generally find out about it when something's not working right. So an example of a real customer situation that we had was, we had a customer in Southeast Asia who was commissioning machines that they had purchased from an OEM also in Southeast Asia, and the customer was having problems commissioning them, and their commissioning was being impacted by these technical issues they were experiencing, and they came to us thinking that this was a technical issue with the product. Something wasn't working right. Rockwell, you need to help us with this. But upon proper investigation of the matter, we determined that the products in question weren't authentic. They were actually made up of different pieces of old units that had been kind of repaired and refurbished, and also some totally counterfeit parts as well. Kind of amalgamated back together with counterfeit labels and packaging wrapped around them, and they weren't functioning for that reason. And And obviously this was a big wake up call for the customer. And obviously they had to have, it was very embarrassing for the customer, but also very embarrassing for the OEM that provided the products to them, because it was determined that that OEM was actually trying to save money by not purchasing from the authorized sources that were in their area, but they found a bunch of other companies in the area who were claiming that they could provide these products at a better price. And I mean, the long story short is obviously the OEM in question had to rectify the situation for their customer. And I mean, I think it is safe to say that it was an uncomfortable situation between those two parties, and there definitely had to be some relationship recovery that took place thereafter. And this is a situation that we see unfortunately not rare enough, particularly today when we're experiencing so many supply chain issues around the world, limiting the supply of authentic products. We see a lot of customers out there trying desperately to find products, and a lot of companies out there trying desperately to take advantage of the situation through deception to make money off of what are very real problems for the industry today.
That's unfortunate. And when that happens, then you could, if you're depending on that product, it could disrupt the project you were waiting for. It's embarrassing, like you said. These are major problems, especially the security issue.
Yeah, and also, sometimes we get involved with clients or with customers who find out, quite late that they have this type of a unsecured supply chain issue. And so we deal with clients who, for example, might learn, okay, we found a counterfeit item, but then they realize, actually we've been buying the stuff from the same place for 3 years.
Oh gosh.
And we've installed a lot of stuff. And now they have the concern of, okay, what started with one small issue is now I have to go and I have to address do a risk analysis on my overall installation now. And so these issues can become quite significant for a company when you consider all the risks involved. We have customers that are still today after for example more than 6 months ago becoming aware that they may have acquired counterfeit products through an unsecured supply chain, are still in the process of revalidating their installed base to try to eliminate any other counterfeits from their installations.
So one final question. I know Rockwell Automation maintains a vetted partner network that's really strong, and the companies in that partner network source its products either directly from Rockwell or from its authorized distributor network. So that means buyers can verify the source before they buy by using a partner locator, which I've put a link to in this episode's description. But my question is, what are some red flags for buyers that will signal that a source is unauthorized?
Yeah. Before I answer that, I just want to mention again that there are companies out there who really go to extremes to try to misrepresent themselves as an authorized partner. So please, for everybody listening, please take advantage of any independent verification that you can, including the partner locators that Theresa just mentioned. But some common red flags that we see, we see a lot of unsolicited, offers to sell Rockwell Automation products. You might receive an email, from somebody in, for example, China, claiming that they are, selling Allen Bradley Rockwell Automation products, and they'll give you a table with a listing of them and some, crazy aggressive, unrealistic prices. And reaching out to you to ask, is there anything else you need? Give us a call, let us know. Obviously, that type of thing should be taken very, very suspect. We would also say that there are a lot of companies that are, kind of these, globally operated online buy resell companies. I won't go through names, but you'll see companies out there that claim to sell, all manufacturers of industrial automation products. They claim to, have massive stocks. They claim to, offer shipping in 24, 48 hours. Our authorized distributors, do not have a model that operates, this way. And by the way, many of those claims around stock and lead times are generally, not true. Yeah, so that's another one. I think a third red flag would be on online marketplaces such as the peer-to-peer marketplaces, eBay, Amazon. Rockwell Automation and our partners do not sell on any of these platforms. So if you are seeing Rockwell Automation products on these types of peer-to-peer marketplaces, you can be assured that they are unauthorized resellers, and would come along with all the risks that I mentioned earlier. But again, sometimes it's very hard to tell, and which is why we're so adamant that we are here. Rockwell Automation is here, through our website, through our our local offices to help validate and verify sources, so that you don't have to do it if you'd like help. We're here to do that.
Well, thank you, Ryan. This is really useful information. I appreciate you being here to educate us about it, and I've really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you, Theresa. It's been wonderful.
And I'm Theresa Hauk with the Journal Magazine. I'll see you again soon.